Welcome to Tech in Translation, the podcast where we break down the complexities of today's most innovative technologies into something we can all understand.
Brought to you by Ironbow Technologies. We're committed to helping our customers across government and commercial sectors turn their tech challenges into real, actionable outcomes.
At Ironbow, we believe that technology should be a tool for empowerment, not a source of confusion.
That's why each episode of Tech in Translation is designed to demystify the latest trends, tools, and technologies, making them accessible for everyone, whether you're a seasoned professional or just tech curious.
Join us as we translate complex tech into everyday language, one episode at a time.
Joining us today is Greg Stemberger, Chief Technology Officer here at Ironbow Technologies, and Cory Jackson, Managing Director of Cybersecurity. Welcome to the podcast, gentlemen.
Thanks, Tom. Happy to be here.
Yeah, Tom, thanks for having us.
Greg, tell us about the role of the Chief Technology Officer here at Ironbow. How does the Office of the CTO help customers stay on top of industry trends and find the solutions that meet their needs the best?
You know, Tom, I often describe the CTO organization as a bridge between what's happening in the technology market, what our partners are building, and what our customers are trying to accomplish. The big part of our role is helping customers navigate an increasingly complex technology landscape. The reality is there's no shortage of innovation right now, especially in areas like AI, cybersecurity, networking, and cloud. But there's also a lot of noise. Our job is to understand where the market is heading, evaluate new technologies objectively, and help customers determine what is actually relevant to their business or mission. We spend a lot of time working with our technology partners, attending industry events, researching emerging trends, and engaging directly with our customers. I believe that gives us a unique perspective on both the opportunities and the challenges organizations are facing. At the end of the day, our goal is pretty simple. Help customers make informed technology decisions, reduce risk, and invest in solutions that will deliver meaningful outcomes both today and into the future.
So, Greg, you and your team attend many industry events, including Cisco Live, Dell Tech World, HPE Discover, and others. How do your team and customers benefit from the expertise you gain?
You know, Tom, first and foremost, it's just a great opportunity to connect with our partners. The larger events bring many technology leaders from industry, and it's a great opportunity for us to interface with product owners and provide very honest feedback on their products from the field, as well as getting insights into the future with their roadmaps, so we can utilize that information to help us best position technology with our customers.
So you've just returned from Cisco Live. Tell us about the three most interesting takeaways from that event.
So, Tom, when I look back at Cisco Live 2026, there's really three themes that stood out to me, and they're all connected. The first is what I call kind of the AI velocity paradigm. Organizations are facing pressure from two directions simultaneously. On one hand, you've got AI technology itself evolving at an incredible pace. New models, capabilities, architectures emerging constantly. Then on the other hand, you've got businesses that are under increasing pressure from leadership, employees, customers, and competition to adopt AI quickly. The challenge is that pace of AI innovation is often exceeding the speed at which organizations can evaluate, govern, secure, and operationalize it. Secondly, what Cisco described as kind of this new operational model. As technology begins to operate at machine speeds due to AI, traditional approaches in managing infrastructure become increasingly difficult. Cisco's vision is that organizations need more automation, more intelligence, and a more integrated operations across networking, security, observability, and infrastructure. Many of the announcements to Cisco Live reflected this idea of simplifying operations through AI-enabled platforms and consolidated management. And then thirdly, there's this rise of hybrid AI and what I would describe as an emerging network supercycle, which was called out specifically. This first wave of AI was largely cloud-centric because that's where organizations had easy access to GPUs and foundational models. But what we're seeing now, both in the market and with our customers, is a shift toward distributed AI architectures that span cloud, core, and the edge. As AI becomes embedded across applications, business processes, and operational environments, organizations are realizing they need modern networks, secure data access, and architectures capable of supporting AI wherever it needs to run. When you connect those three themes together, the message in Cisco Live becomes pretty clear. AI isn't just creating demand for new applications, it's driving a fundamental rethink of how organizations are applying technology across the enterprise.
So, Cory, part of that new operational model is Cisco Cloud Control. Who can benefit from it?
At a high level, Tom, Cisco Cloud Control is about giving IT and security teams a more consistent operational picture. Most organizations are not struggling because they lack technology. They're struggling because their environment has become extremely fragmented. The network team sees one picture, the security team sees something different, and the cloud team has their own tools. And the help desk may be working from a totally different inventory that's in a legacy database or a spreadsheet. Leadership then asks simple questions like, are we exposed? What's the business impact? And it takes way too long to get a confident answer. This is the problem that Cloud Control helps to solve. Cisco positions it as a unified operations platform for agentic IT, bringing together networking, security, compute, observability, and collaboration into one environment with a single login, unified inventory, and real-time topology. One of the key phrases for me from the keynote was share context. In a complex incident or an outage, context is everything. What's changed? What systems are affected? Is this a network issue? Is it a firewall rule? Is it an application issue? And what are all the dependencies? Who owns the asset is another question. And is there a known vulnerability? What's the risk to the business? These are all questions that can be solved with that additional context that you can get from Cloud Control. And Cloud Control introduces the idea of human operators and AI agents working together inside AI Canvas, where Cisco says teams and agents can investigate and resolve cross-domain issues while maintaining governance and auditability. And this is where the operational model starts to change. The AI in this case is not just answering questions as a co-pilot. It's helping teams work across domains faster.
So, how are solutions like Cisco IQ putting customers more in touch with their asset management strategies?
This is one of the most practical topics for IT and security leaders because asset management is still one of the hardest foundational problems. You can't secure what you don't know you have. You can't modernize what you have not inventoried. And you can't manage technical debt if you do not know where it is. And you can't make a strong business case for investment if you can't connect aging technology to operational risk. Cisco IQ is relevant because it connects asset visibility, vulnerability awareness, and lifecycle data in a more actionable way. Cisco says Cisco IQ simplifies inventory management, vulnerability detection, and access to support services through an AI-powered interface. Cisco also announced that Cisco IQ is being integrated into Cloud Control and will support resilient infrastructure playbooks, peer benchmarking, and insights around last day of support exposure and vulnerability rates. That matters because asset management is no longer just a record-keeping exercise. It's tied to resilience, security, compliance, budget planning, cyber insurance, and modernization. So, for example, if a customer has end-of-life infrastructure in a critical environment, that's not just an IT hygiene issue. It can affect patchability, supportability, and incident response, and the ability to adopt modern security controls. If a device cannot support the visibility and segmentation, encryption, or identity controls the organization needs, then it becomes part of the risk conversation. So the mature asset strategy is not simple. What do we own? What's the business function that depends on it? What risks do we carry? Is it supportable? Is it vulnerable? These are all challenges that something like Cisco IQ can help customers answer.
One major topic of conversation was post-quantum cryptography. In layman's terms, what does that refer to?
In plain English, encryption is part of the trust fabric of the enterprise. It protects websites, authentication, APIs, sensitive data, device identity, and machine-to-machine communication. If the cryptography underneath those systems becomes vulnerable, the impact is not limited to just one application. It affects how the organization establishes trust across their environment. The business translation is PQC is not a panic issue, but it's a planning issue. Organizations need to understand where cryptography exists in their environment and what data needs long-term protection and which systems will need to support quantum-safe algorithms over time.
While we're on security, we all know with the onset of AI, there's an increased pace and complexity of vulnerability management. There was a capability known as Live Protect that was highlighted heavily at Cisco Live. Tell me more.
So Cisco Live Protect is worth some discussion because it addresses a very practical gap every IT and cybersecurity leader understands. And it's that dwell time between a vulnerability being disclosed and the point where the organization can safely and effectively patch it. In many environments, especially like in healthcare, government organizations, manufacturing, and other always-on operations, teams can't simply take an outage for every critical patch and take the whole network offline. They still have testing, change windows, maintenance schedules, and business continuity concerns. Cisco describes Live Protect as a way to apply validated runtime protections or a compensating control to support your Cisco infrastructure so that the organization can reduce the exposure earlier. In the context of the Live Protect conversation, I would frame it less as a replacement for patching and more of a way to manage the operational risk while you're waiting to patch your infrastructure. It gives the security and the infrastructure teams a bridge between we know about the vulnerability and we have an opportunity now to actually patch that vulnerability. And that aligns well with the broader themes of this conversation, where AI era speed and infrastructure complexity and security resilience are converging.
Greg, what types of organizations are vulnerable to quantum computing threats?
You know, Tom, when I hear quantum computing, they often think it's still a research project that's years away. But one of the reasons organizations are paying attention today is the concept of a cryptographically relevant quantum computer, or CRQC. That's essentially a quantum computer powerful enough to break many of the encryption methods that protect today's digital systems. Now, nobody knows exactly when a CRQC will arrive, but the consensus is that organizations need to begin preparing well before it does. The reason is simple. Cryptography is everywhere. It's embedded in our networks, VPNs, identity systems, applications, certificates, and storage and compute platforms. So one of the biggest concerns is what's known as a harvest now, decrypt later, whereby an adversary can capture encrypted data today and simply hold on to it until the quantum capability matures enough to decrypt it in the future. That makes this especially important for organizations with long-lived sensitive data, which I know Cory highlighted as well, such as government agencies, defense organizations, healthcare providers, financial institutions, and really any company with valuable intellectual property. What's really often overlooked is that this isn't just a cybersecurity challenge, it's also an infrastructure challenge. Migrating to post-quantum cryptography will require organizations to evaluate hardware and software lifecycles, network infrastructure, security platforms, PKI systems, and really start thinking about vendor roadmaps to ensure they're ready for a quantum-resistant enterprise. That's why I view post-quantum cryptography as an enterprise modernization effort. And I know that's our stance here at Ironbow, and it's really not just a security project. It touches networking, security, cloud, and infrastructure, as well as procurement and compliance. So in closing, the question I encourage leaders to ask is, do we have data that would still be damaging if it were exposed 10 or 20 years from now? If the answer is yes, it's really time to start planning for a post-quantum future.
Cory, how is Ironbow working with industry partners like Cisco to help customers become quantum ready?
Tom, the first thing we try to do is make PQC practical. It can sound abstract, but the first few steps are very concrete. So step one is inventory. Where are we using cryptography? Which systems use public key cryptography? Which certificates, VPNs, applications, network devices, software processes, and identity systems depend on algorithms that may need to change? And then step two is prioritization. Once we've done that inventory, not every system has the same level of risk. The focus should be on systems that protect sensitive data, regulated data, data that's going to be long-lived, mission-critical communications, and high-value intellectual property. Step three is vendor engagement. Customers need to understand which products are quantum ready today, which ones have a roadmap, which ones may require upgrades, and which ones may become blockers. Cisco has been talking about PQC readiness in terms of understanding where quantum risks exist, assessing crypto exposure across systems and data flows, prioritizing sensitive data that needs long-term protection, and building towards cryptographic agility. Cisco also announced a quantum-ready assessment through Cisco IQ to identify assets most exposed to harvest now, decrypt later attacks, and helping customers determine where to start. Where Ironbow fits is helping customers turn that into an executable roadmap. That means connecting the technical assessment to refresh cycles, compliance obligations, risk management, procurement, and architectural planning. The wrong answer, in my opinion, is to ignore PQC until it becomes urgent. The other wrong approach is to overhaul wholesale without understanding the environment. The right approach is measured. It's discovery, prioritization, and engaging with vendors to build crypto agility and align PQC readiness with modernization efforts in the organization.
AI is a huge focus at Cisco Live and in the marketplace. While customers are realizing the benefits, they're also experiencing new challenges. What are organizations experiencing in their AI journeys today?
You know, Tom, one of the biggest shifts discussed at Cisco Live is that AI is no longer just a cloud conversation. And this is kind of built off my earlier comments around hybrid AI. The first wave of AI adoption was largely cloud-centric because that's where organizations had easy access to foundational models and GPUs, as I highlighted earlier. But what we're seeing now is a move toward a much more distributed model that spans cloud, the core, and the edge. There are a few reasons for that. One, and this is something we feel strongly about here at Ironbow, is that organizations are increasingly concerned not just about where the data resides, but it's what about operational control, governance, and resilience of those respective data and AI environments. Secondly, there's a data gravity element to it. Many of the most valuable AI use cases involve data that already exists, and that data lives outside the cloud. Whether it's something as simple as manufacturing sensors, video systems, or healthcare environments, or lastly, defense and intelligence platforms. In many cases, it's more practical to bring AI closer to the data than to move massive amounts of data to the AI. And lastly, economics definitely matter. And this was a big theme at Cisco Live. As organizations move from AI experimentation to production, they're paying close attention to inference cost, network utilization, and where workloads can run most efficiently. And these costs exponentially grow as you go from smaller deployments to enterprise deployments at scale. I think what Cisco is recognizing is that AI will live across all of these disparate domains, and that's why we're seeing continued investments in AI-ready infrastructure, observability, security, and operational platforms designed to help customers manage and govern AI consistently, regardless of where it runs. Ultimately, I believe the future of AI is hybrid, and organizations that are most successful are the ones building architectures today that give them the flexibility to deploy AI wherever it makes the most sense from a business, operational, and security perspective.
What does this mean for the way customers are managing their Cisco infrastructure?
You know, it's a great question. For Cisco in particular, what stood out for me is that Cisco is continuing to move toward a unified operational model, which I know Cory already highlighted. As customers adopt AI and operate across cloud, core, and edge, managing network and security as a separate silo just becomes increasingly difficult. Initiatives like Cisco Cloud Control, Agentic Ops, and deeper integration between network and security are all aimed at simplifying operations, increasing automation, and giving customers a more consistent way to manage infrastructure at scale. The real outcome is less complexity and more time focused on delivering business and mission value.
Fascinating information. So as we look to close this out, Cory, how can customers prepare for what's ahead?
So first, Tom, customers need to know their estate. Build a reliable view of assets, identities, applications, data flows, and their dependencies. That's the foundation for security, modernization, AI readiness, and PQC readiness. Second, reduce the technical debt with intention. Legacy technology is not automatically bad, but unmanaged technical debt becomes a tremendous risk. Leaders should know which assets are unsupported, which systems are going to be difficult to patch, and which platforms cannot be supported going forward for modern security controls. Third, modernize identity and access. As AI agents and automation become more common, access control has to become contextual and more granular. Least privilege, strong identification, segmentation, monitoring, and governance of AI all become so much more important. Fourth, build AI governance before AI becomes unmanageable. That means approved use cases, data handling rules, cost controls, testing, keeping humans in a loop with human oversight, and clear accountability.
So wait, you don't just jump in without governance? I mean, don't we do that normally?
I mean, that's what typically happens, but it's a recipe for disaster.
Amen, sir.
And then the fifth thing is begin PQC readiness planning. Don't wait for the crisis. Start with the cryptographic inventory, risk assessment, do the vendor engagement, and start the alignment of modernizing your technology. Finally, measure outcomes. IT and security leaders should be able to show whether they are reducing risk, improving resilience, accelerating operations, and enabling the business. Activity metrics are not enough anymore.
Thank you, Cory. Greg, what are your closing comments?
So I think my foundational message is that AI is moving at a pace that I think everybody is struggling to keep up with. So you're not alone. The reality is the AI landscape is evolving rapidly. We've got new models, capabilities, and deployment approaches that are emerging, it seems like, every day. They're just continuous. That's why AI readiness has become such an important focus. The organizations that are positioning themselves for success are investing in very strong foundations, modern networks, scalable architectures, trusted data, security, and governance. Those foundational capabilities are what give them the flexibility to take advantage of new innovations as they emerge. Another important shift is that AI is no longer a standalone cloud application. I think I've made that point clear. It's becoming embedded across the enterprise in applications, workflows, security platforms, as well as IT operations. As that happens, organizations need to prepare for greater demands on the infrastructure and new security and governance requirements. For me, the takeaway is simple. Organizations that will succeed in the AI era aren't necessarily the ones adopting every new technology first. They're the ones building flexible architectures and operating models that can adapt as AI continues to evolve.
You heard it here, listeners. Cisco is at the cutting edge. Thank you, Greg and Cory, for sharing these forward-looking insights on how we're bringing customers the best solutions in the industry so they can achieve their business outcomes. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Tech in Translation on your favorite listening platform. For more insights on mission-focused innovation and technology trends, visit ironbow.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.